Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today, I will explain a 2016 English-French comedy film called 9 Lives. This video contains spoilers, watch out and take care. The film begins with a montage of cats and a man explaining how much he hates cats and that they can never replace human beings. We are introduced to Tom Brand, a major business tycoon living in New York City with his second wife Laura, and their daughter Rebecca. Tom has an ex-wife who divorced him for his workaholic attitude. Tom is on a plane with his assistant David. He gets ready to dive, dismissing whatever ideas David throws at him. David is revealed to be Tom's son from his first marriage. Tom dives and lands safely on top of a new skyscraper. In an interview with the press, we see that Tom's eponymous company, Firebrand, is nearing the completion of its biggest project yet, the tallest skyscraper in the Northern Hemisphere. The building will also be the new headquarters of the company. After the interview, Tom goes to the company where one of the top managers of the company, Ian Cox, is having a meeting with other executives. Ian wants the company to sell the skyscraper and cash in heavily. However, Tom is against the idea and he requests to meet with the board. In the meeting, he argues that while the company has done so many building projects, the public does not remember them because the projects have exchanged hands severally. However, the skyscraper is set to be the legacy of Firebrand. When the board members express mixed feelings, Tom pulls out the majority card as he owns 51% of the company. Tom continuously ignores calls from his wife. When he gets home, he excuses his behavior and Laura informs him to get ready for their charity drive. Laura also wants Tom to spend more time with Rebecca. Since her birthday is coming up and Laura refuses to tell Tom what to get her, Tom interacts with Rebecca, who reveals that she wants a cat. Tom takes the ideas to his colleagues, who advise him to get the girl what she wants. One of them gives him an address to a reputable seller. On his way, Tom punches the address on his GPS but is distracted by driving and a message from Ian that he does not notice the shift in direction. He arrives at a mysterious pet store called Perkins and the place gives him the creeps. He dismisses them as being his rational fear of cats. He meets the owner Felix, who sells him a cat that keeps on playing with him. After the owner reveals that you don't pick a cat, the cat picks you. Felix calls the cat Mr. Fuzzy Pants and says that the cat has used 7 of its 9 lives. Tom leaves the shop as his phone rings. Felix advises him not to pick it up and head home, but Tom ignores him. Tom meets up with Ian at the skyscraper, angry because a rival company in Chicago is building a taller skyscraper. Tom argues with Ian and he fires him, but lightning strikes the antennae, causing the men to be hit. Tom is blown off the building and clings on along with the cat, but Ian makes no attempt to save him, so he plummets off the side. Some rogue equipment snags his leg, causing him to land in another building, and he passes out. When he comes to, he sees paramedics lift a body to the stretcher. In horror, he discovers that his body is in a coma and his consciousness is trapped in the cat's body. At the hospital, Tom tries to get anybody's attention, but no one takes him seriously as he can only talk cat. The only person who understands him is the cat shop owner, and he tells him that he has to find out why he is trapped in the body before his body dies if he does not want to be a cat forever. The following day see Tom trying to prove to his family that he is the cat. He drinks scotch and refuses to eat cat food. One day, he leaves a trail of paper for Laura, who follows it and finds Felix's address. Felix is invited to the house as a cat whisperer so that he can figure out what is wrong with the cat. Felix privately instructs Tom to act like a cat, since his presence in the house is supposed to be comforting, not a nuisance. Tom takes the advice, and over time, he starts noticing how little he knows of his daughter Rebecca and how he has ignored Laura. One time, Laura invites Tom's ex-wife for dinner, and despite the negativities she spits about him, Tom is pleased to learn that his family loves and cares about him. Meanwhile, David learns about Ian's plan to sell the company after he finds various stockholders in a meeting. He starts combing for ways to make his father's legacy come true. In the house, Tom overhears Laura speaking with another man and assumes that she is cheating on him. He manages to sneak into her car unnoticed after climbing down the high-rise apartment. He sees the model, Josh, being super friendly with Laura, and this causes him to snarl at him. His excitement fades to worry when he learns that Laura had been planning on leaving him and getting a new house for herself and Rebecca. She could only take that much. She refuses to see other houses from Josh, the realtor, explaining that the cat has been a daily reminder of how much she loves Tom. Tom witnesses Rebecca watching a video of a dance they had shared years ago and starts playing with her. The girl becomes sad quickly after seeing a game Tom had bought her. Tom's ex-wife's daughter comes and takes a picture of Rebecca snuggling the cat. She tells Rebecca to wash her face, using this chance to post the picture to the class group, humiliating Rebecca. Tom notices this and pounces at the phone, dragging it to Rebecca, who tells the fake friend that she can never be her friend, and that there is no joke in her father's condition. For the next few days, Tom shows Rebecca her homework and watches the high-rise skyscraper with Laura. One day, David visits Tom's office hoping to get some documents that could delay the sale of the company. Tom hides in the box that David carries, but Rebecca notices this strange behavior. David goes back to the office and Tom notices David's new idea of enlarging the skyscraper. He goes to his office and retrieves a document that Ian maliciously shreds. The document shows that David has the shares of his father. David visits his mother and finds the proof that he needs to win the case and keep his father's legacy. Meanwhile, Ian visits Tom and asks his doctor to advise Laura to pull the plug, saying it is not okay to give the family false hope. That night, Tom cuddles with Laura and he realizes how much he loves her. The next morning, Ian shows up at the house advising Laura to pull the plug. He says that the family needs to move on, and they cannot do that if they do not grieve. Tom hears the conversation and attacks Ian, crawling him badly. Laura locks him in his cage before telling Ian off, and revealing that she knows why he wants her to pull the plug. Rebecca leaves for school but she takes the cat in her bag. She travels to the Perkins store and Tom realizes that Rebecca is suspicious of him. Meanwhile, David asks for a meeting with the board, but Ian sends them to the launch that is happening later that evening. David confronts Ian about this and Ian fires him, having his guards escort him out of the building. Meanwhile, Rebecca reveals that she wants to return the cat to Felix, stating that the cat has not settled well with the family, and is in danger of being given away. Felix reveals that sometimes, love means sacrifice and it is sad that people don't grasp that context. He puts a record on and excuses himself. Tom plays the records and starts dancing with Rebecca. She is now confident that the cat is her father, since only he knows the dance they play. In the hospital, Tom smiles but his heart stops. The doctors revive him quickly but they call Laura since further action is required. Rebecca and David arrive at the hospital too. Rebecca tries telling her mother about Tom but her mother takes her outside. David shares his last moments with Tom, revealing that he is going to do his first and last jump. Tom hears this and realizes his son is about to commit suicide after having failed to get his approval. He follows him but overhears Laura being advised to sign a DNR. Rebecca calls out to him asking him to prove his identity, but Tom decides to follow David and stop his suicide. By doing this, he forfeits a chance of ever going back to his body. At the launch, David sneaks in and climbs to the roof. Tom cannot get in as the building is locked, and a security officer goes to throw him in the bin, but Felix arrives on time, saving Tom and helping him fulfill his mission. He angrily launches at the security personnel in the lobby, and the frightened men take him to the roof. Here, he sees David jump as the crowd down below looks at him. Tom grabs some rope hoping to save his son, and jumps after him but the rope ends after a while. He discovers that Davis is wearing a parachute he had gifted him after the dive at the beginning of the film. He smiles as David lands in the middle of the party. David produces the papers showing he controls his father's assets, and announces that Firebrand Company will remain a family company. As the cat falls to its death, Tom's consciousness returns to his body and he gets up from his coma much to Laura's and Rebecca's amusement. They call David, who announces his father's return. Ian is angered by this and starts calling some executives, when Felix approaches him and asks him to turn back. Ian ignores this and walks across the road, and is hit by a car. His consciousness transfers into a cat and Felix takes him to his shop. In the last scene, we see Rebecca and Tom visit the cat shop hoping to get a dog. Felix gives them Mr. Fuzzy Pants, who has one life remaining. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more recaps like this.